The Taj Lake Palace is an actual palace in an actual lake, and it's one of the crown jewels of the Indian hotel scene. What more is there really to say? We've got a full tour coming up today, so let's get into it. Welcome to Udaipur. If you'd like to know the exact rate that I paid for my stay, or my next 5 videos in queue, please check out the description below. And if you're new here, hi there and welcome to the channel. My name is Kevin. I think that the world needs a bit more honest travel content these days, so I make airline trip reports, high-end hotel reviews, and cruise ship tours as well, all without invitation. I always film without the company's knowledge, and I self-fund my trips to be sure to get a true experience. Then, I give you nothing more than my own personal, honest, unbiased opinion. A royal palace, a museum, a city of lakes, and oh yeah, a hotel too. Squeezing all of that into one video in a semi-sorta reasonable amount of time is a challenge. So today, we're going to take the time to take it all in, learn about the history of the palace, actually explore the hotel, and take a look at the beautiful details. But I'm going to limit my narration just a little bit to let the palace speak for itself. One key thing to wrap our heads around from the get-go is that the Taj Lake Palace is not on an island. The palace, quite literally, is the island. Because of this, the amount of extra space is really limited. So when arriving, even if coming directly from one of the other Lake Pachola resorts, you're going to need to first go to their mainland pier for a bag scan before you can head over to the palace itself. From the pier, you'll be taken by boat to the palace, where you'll be greeted and showered with rose petals, and then guided to the reception hall, where check-in will take place. As we get that process sorted, let me begin to tell you a bit about the history, and why my first big point today is the fact that the Taj Lake Palace is really the ultimate bucket list stopover. There aren't that many places on Earth where you'll be able to visit 2 palaces in one day, and maybe even sleep in one of them. Jagniwas, the official name of the palace, was constructed in the 1740s by the House of Mewar. To understand why the Lake Palace was built, we need to mention that, in the immediate vicinity, there are actually 4 palaces. 4 that I know of, at least. The City Palace, which you can see ahead of you right now, was built in 1553. At the time, the ruler was Maharana Sangram Singh II, and he was living at Jag Mandir, another palace on a small island in the lake. His son at the time, Prince Jagat Singh, asked his father if he and his wives, yes plural, could move into Jag Mandir. The request was denied since the Maharana didn't want to invade the privacy of his daughters-in-law and risk embarrassing them. At the time, the Parda system was followed, and so the wives would always need to be veiled if the Maharana could possibly walk in at any moment. So the prince was given permission to build Jagniwas just a stone's throw away. Let's take a closer look at the palace and how accessible it is today. We are in the state of Rajasthan, in the far northwest of India. Specifically in Udaipur, the famous city of lakes. From the airport to the hotel's pier is around a 45-minute drive. From the pier, you'll take a boat transfer to the north side of the Lake Palace, where the main entrance and dock are. For reference, the old town of Udaipur is to the right, with various other resorts surrounding the lake all around. Despite a relatively, shall we say, petite floor plan, the palace can be a bit disorienting, since there aren't that many close-by visual cues when walking around the inner areas. For reference, my room was over here and had a view directly facing the city palace. After the prince's reign as the Maharana, the palace was frequently used as a summer palace for the House of Mewar, and was also used for some periodic events for which a bit of, let's say, discretion was desired. Imagine taking a boat from one of your palaces to your other palace in order to be discreet. Oh, and did I mention there's actually a 4th palace as well? We'll get a glimpse of that a bit later. The palace was constructed largely of local marble from Rajnagar, around 50 miles from Udaipur. The construction techniques are mostly Mewar and Rajput, with a bit of Mughal architecture influence. Throughout the palace, you'll notice a marble inlay technique called parchinkari, using jewel-toned stones to inlay into pure white marble with minute detail. Agra and Rajasthan are the primary areas known for this artwork, and one of the most prominent examples of it is along the exterior and interior of the Taj Mahal. Believe it or not, it's not just a solid white building like many photos would make you believe. If you're new to the channel and you'd like to see more beautiful hotels and resorts in India, check out my India playlist linked above and below. By the end of the series, there will be around 20 or 25 videos in there for you to explore. These days, the entry, lounge, and courtyard are defined by gleaming marble floors and traditional furniture in an open-air setting with pops of color in just about every direction. Now we're in the hotel's bar, Amrit Sagar, which is just on the other side of the courtyard and features archways adorned with Tikri mirror mosaic art. If you support the content that I've been putting out on the channel, or just honest travel content in general, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. That, along with sharing the video, are the 3 easiest ways to tell YouTube that this video was worth your time. For anyone interested in supporting, my Patreon is also linked in the description below. Thanks very much for watching today. As we head down the corridor to the beautiful fountains and pond in the courtyard, let me tell you a bit about how this palace came to be a hotel in the 1960s. The designer of the renovation, American artist D.D. Contractor, said this of the project, quote, "I worked from 1961 to 1969, and what an adventure it was. His Highness, was a real monarch, really like kings always were. So one had a sense of being one of the last people to be an artist for the king. It felt the way one imagines it would feel like working in the courts of the Renaissance. It was an experience of going back in time to an entirely different era, a different world. His Highness was actually working on a shoestring. He was not in dire straits, mind you, but when he came to the throne, he inherited big problems, like what to do with the 300 dancing girls that belonged to his predecessor, Maharana Bhopal Singh. He tried to offer them scholarships to become nurses, but they didn't want to move out of the palace, so what could he do? He had to just let them stay. They were old crones by this time, and on state occasions, I remember they would come out and sing and dance with their veils down, and occasionally one would lift hers to show a wizened old face underneath. He had something like 12 state elephants, and he had all of these properties which were deteriorating. The buildings on Jagnawas were starting to fall down, and basically the Lake Palace was turned into a hotel because it seemed like the only viable way that it could be maintained. It was really a job of conservation, unquote. And so it was converted into a heritage hotel by Maharana Bhagwat Singh, the 75th ruler of the House of Mewar. With this hotel, Udaipur was eventually put on the world map as a tourist destination, as business thrived, hosting everyone from heads of states to Hollywood actors. In 1971, he signed a deal with the Indian Hotels Company to manage the property. IHCL is the hotel arm of the Taj Group, part of Tata Group. As we head over to the outdoor pool now, I'll mention that today's second big point, this palace is pretty intimate in scale. By no means have you seen the entire thing yet, but you've already seen probably around 80% of the common areas. Everything here is simply on a smaller scale. There are no sprawling lawns or walking trails, but there are certainly some beautiful views and endless intriguing details. So, having been a hotel for nearly 60 years at this point, who stays at the Taj Lake Palace these days? It's mostly couples or pairs of friends, spanning many ages, who are coming to see what it's all about or perhaps celebrate a special occasion. When here, they'll find a welcoming but fairly formal and buttoned up vibe, which does loosen up a bit after dark. Just a brief walk through the inner courtyard before heading to lunch at the absolutely stunning Joka. If you'd like to know more about the history of Taj hotels in general, please check out my Taj Palace Mumbai video, linked above and below. For now, I'll just give you a brief rundown. Jamsetji Tata of the Tata Group broke ground on the first Taj hotel in 1902. Since then, the brand has expanded to 89 properties across the whole of India and 9 other countries. They have a goal of 100 properties by 2025. Starting with this, the Taj Lake Palace, in the 1970s, they began acquiring the rights to various palaces and converting them into hotels of international luxury standards. For those of you that didn't know, Taj's parent company, the Tata Group, is also the new, second time around, owner of Air India, along with Singapore Airlines. So, to say that the Tata Group has dipped its toe into the Indian tourism market is a bit of an understatement. When I come back for breakfast tomorrow, we'll take a better look at the restaurant facility, filled with beautiful scalloped archways framing Lake Pichola. For now, though, I'll give you a look at the full menu. This is the multi-cuisine restaurant of the hotel, open throughout the day. Having Indian fare for dinner each night, I dabbled with Western fare for lunch and was not at all disappointed. For a salad, this one certainly ticked all the boxes. Okay, time to head to my room. I had a lake view king room for my stay. There's no question about it, the rooms are compact. But considering we're in an actual palace with a footprint that can't be expanded, I'm more than happy with the space on offer and think that it's a nice and comfortable layout. The details in the room are really top-notch. Reality is, it would be really easy for a hotel like this to, let's say, get away with furnishings that might be a bit worn and torn, coasting on their name alone. But not here, that's for sure. I'll allow you to tour the room, and I'll come back to you with my favorite and least favorite details in just a bit. So you already know, for me, it's all about the details. So let's get into my 3 least favorite things about this room. God knows I'm going to get about 80 comments saying it's not a coffee drinking culture, but the first point is the lack of a respectable coffee machine in the room. A 5-star hotel, especially one that is routinely well over $1,500 US dollars per night during high season for this same room, yeah, they should have decent coffee. Period. Number 2, the Forest Essentials products. This is admittedly a minor grievance. I love Forest Essentials products. I spent more than I care to admit at the Forest Essentials duty-free store. But the scent that they have for the palace just smells, elderly. Last up, and this is a big one, and is part of the reason for my third big point. The birds, holy mother of God, the birds. Okay, close your eyes. Imagine a concert hall filled with 2,000 people. Now imagine that they all started screaming at the same time. Now imagine that those people are all birds. That's what it felt like when I woke up at 4 a.m. Have a listen. Bring your earplugs, your white noise machine. Hell, just sleep in a bubble. My favorite details are easy though, and the first one is surely just the condition of just about everything in here. Second thing that I really love was the view, especially at night. There was something just a little bit magical about it that made you feel like you were on a really fancy river cruise. Though I wouldn't mind if there were like 93% less pigeons. Lastly, a small detail, but a really good one. The light switches and outlets. This is not the only property I visited in India with these mechanical switches, but it was certainly the only place with ones as beautiful and polished as these. We've still got quite a bit to cover tonight with a lake cruise, a cultural show, and dinner. But first, let me show you around a few other areas of the palace, starting off with the other end of the courtyard. Upstairs now, we're in one of my favorite spots. You may very well recognize this view from the awkwardly named Octopusy, which was filmed here in 1983 with beautiful views of Udaipur in the background. It's original marble details like this that really do set a property like this apart from just about anything else. I visited during low season, and so it seemed like they were just using one side of the palace for guests, but there were guest rooms around the entire perimeter of the palace. Remember that fourth palace that I mentioned? So it's way up on the peak of that mountain in the distance. Built in 1884, this was known as the Monsoon Palace, which was built in part so the rulers could observe the monsoon clouds from above, and perhaps even more importantly, stay above the monsoonal rains themselves. Each evening, the hotel has a chargeable sunset boat ride around the lake, which will bring you past the city palace, to the north side, and then down to Jag Mandir, before heading back to the palace just after sunset. Small pet peeve, for the price that you're paying to stay at this palace, it would be nice if this was included. As we cruise around, let me tell you about my third big point today. Don't stay here. I know. I'm sorry. I blindsided you a bit there. But hear me out. I'm not saying avoid it altogether. So, you can see right now in front of you the City Palace complex. Would you be surprised to know that part of that palace is also a hotel, also a Taj? It is in fact the Taj Fateh Prakash. Now, I'll state loudly and clear that I've never stayed there, but if I was coming back to Udaipur and I wanted to show the Taj Lake Palace to friends or family, here's what I would do. By the way, this is Jagmandir. I would stay at the City Palace and visit the Lake Palace one day, perhaps for lunch or maybe even dinner after your own sunset cruise. Why am I saying this? Well, like I said, the Taj Lake Palace is small. There's not a whole lot to do. If you're staying here, I assure you, one night is enough. There are no grounds to walk around, no hidden corners to explore. I'm not criticizing, it is what it is. When you factor in another possible heavy metal bird concert at 4 a.m., I think I'd be quite happy sleeping landside. But again, there's nothing wrong with the Lake Palace. It's simply for the reasons that I mentioned. It doesn't mean that it's not a perfect place to stay for some of you. Okay, time to head back to the palace and watch the sunset from the water. The sunset is gorgeous, but it does have one very terrifying consequence. Terrifying to me, at least. When the sun goes down, the bats come out. We were surrounded literally seconds after the sunset. Anyway, as we admire the palace, let me quickly talk about my one real criticism for the hotel. The service. Again, I blindsided you. My apologies. Some of you probably just ripped your hair out screaming, but it's a Taj. But again, hear me out. The service here can very easily be split into two categories. The older generation and the younger generation. The older staff, likely having worked here for decades, were absolutely everything that you'd imagine at a Taj property. They were the Dharma personified. They grew up working, being taught, guest is God, as many Indian chains practice. No complaints about them whatsoever. For the younger staff, though, apart from my initial welcome, it was as if they were allergic to smiling, or just warmth in general. It was very weird, to be honest. They were all accommodating and fairly efficient, but they were just lacking a certain je ne sais quoi. Perhaps lacking a bit of Tajness. Before dinner, we had the nightly cultural show in the courtyard. I'll just say that these performances were basically part of my nightly routine throughout my time in India, but this one was by far the best. The musicians and dancers were all very charismatic and loved it when the guests were actually getting involved in the performance. Time for dinner at Neel Kamal. Taj themselves had this very lofty statement about the restaurant itself. Quote, "The food prepared by our Mewari chefs gives an authentic savor of then-known consommas, undoubtedly making the gastronomy inevitable to explore. Presenting majestic cuisines of the region, Neel Kamal has a vibrant assortment of Rajasthani and Northwest frontier cuisine." Allow me to translate that for you. This place is fancy. I'm not quite sure if the food actually lived up to the standards that were suggested by the gold Versace plates and utensils, though. The food was abnormally mild, not just in spice, but also in flavor, borderline bland. Something I just didn't expect. Anyone who's ever traveled to India knows that at any nice restaurant, you'll likely be asked for your spice preference. My answer is always, as the dish is intended to be made. But it just felt like that actually wasn't the case here. It was a very busy day, and by the time dinner was over, it was nearly past my bedtime. I'll see you in the morning. Pretty convenient and beautiful for the sun to rise over the city palace. Time for a very well done breakfast in the stunning Joka. The marble detailing here is really next level. The reason I mentioned coming to the palace for lunch is because in a heartbeat I'd recommend this restaurant over where I had dinner. I'll also say that there is a third rooftop restaurant named Biro, but that wasn't open during the time of my stay, but that was communicated well in advance. Breakfast was a light buffet that you see here, beautifully presented, along with a full a la carte menu as well. By the way, there is also a spa on site and a borderline miniature fitness center. So let's see if we can't wrap this up neatly. The Taj Lake Palace is worthy of its stature and reputation. It is beautiful, and the amount of history soaked in these walls goes far beyond the snippets that I was able to share today. If you're in Udaipur, or if the Lake Palace is on your bucket list, it is surely worth a visit. But as always, I gotta be honest at every turn, and that's why I really do believe that you might enjoy your time in Udaipur better if you stay at one of the other beautiful hotels on the mainland and then have a quick visit to the Taj Lake Palace. I really do hope that you enjoyed this video today. If you did, please be sure to click that thumbs up button and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming India content. I'll see you next time from just across the lake at the Oberoi Uday Villas here in Udaipur. Oh, and thanks for watching until the end.